ॐ नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्यासम्प्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अन्तिममन्त्रम्। ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणचक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणम् अस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु। तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुभ्यो नमः. So we are on the 12th section of the 8th chapter. We did mantras 1, 2 and 3 in the last session. Just to get the continuity, just let us recall what did we discuss in that. We said that Maghavan Martyam va idam shariramaptam mrityuna asya amrutasya asharirasya atmanaha adhishthanamapto vai sashariraha priya priyabhyam na vai sharirasya sataha priya priyoho apahati asya shariram vava vasantam na priya priye sprashata. O Indra, please listen to me. This body is perishable. It is enveloped from death from all sides because all of them have a beginning, existence, and end, which is called the death. Death is is a symbolic way of saying that they are bound by time. So the individuality is subject to death at an end that is visible in particular, and it cannot be called the Atman because Yepatma Apagata Patma is the way in which the declaration was done. So then what sort of consciousness can be or awareness is what is Atma? Can anyone imagine that sort of awareness? Where it is not aware of anyone's individuality or not not even unaware of anything. Such awareness is the Atman about which we have to know, is what Indra is being told by the Prajapati. So he, in the second mantra, he gives some examples like Ashariro Vayu, Abram Vidyustanai Testru, Asharirani Etani Tat, Yada Yetani Amushmat Akashat Samuttaya Param Jyoti Upasampadya Svena Rupena Abhi Nishpadyate. This example I didn't explain in the last class. The main reason why I did, because I didn't want to bring this example because the topic was purely on the bodilessness of Atma and how we can even not mentally grasp that aspect. That bodiless existence, how do we now the example which is the Prajapati is using is that the space from which the air is born. The air is now connecting with the water and the form of vapor becomes the cloud. And in the cloud, there is lightning and thunder to indicate the vagaries of life. And all of these are apparently unbodied. But when we look at it, reverse it, when the disconnection to these things are happening, the vapor, the rain is becoming the cloud, and the cloud is dissolved in the air, and the air is merging back to the space. So the space by itself has never become the water vapor or embodied in the water vapor, nor did it have any pain and pleasure of lightning and thunder, nor did it go through any rain or anything. The space remained space all the time. And it is in the space all these things are happening. So this is the one example with Prajapati has explained to Indra, saying that to know what is a bodilessness, I have no example but that of the space. So it is impossible to conceive what bodiless existence is. At the same time, the injunction of Prajapati that the bodiless existence is free from vicissitudes of pleasure and pain cannot be easily made intelligible to the mind and affected by the cognitions of bodily existence. So these examples come useful to, you know, conceive that, the spaceless, bodiless space, how when it associates itself with the water way gets a form of a cloud, then you have a name and form, etc., etc. So the Atman is bodiless, and it is Atman which is the abstraction. It is not an abstraction from the physical existence point of view. The mind cannot think about that state of Atman because the mind is a body, or it itself has taken up a shape, and mind can think only within the realm of space and time. Mind cannot even conceive or even visualize or imagine what can be a bodiless state, even if it is conceiving about the Akasha, which cannot be comprehended by the mind. The contrast in the Akasha is making us feel that the Akasha or the space is available. But what is space? We cannot define it. In the space, whenever an object comes, we know that the object is occupying the space. So, from that point of view, mind is conceiving space in the relative realm, but not in its own pure nature or the absolute nature. That is beyond the mind to even fathom that. So these things are non physical because mind cannot access the non physicality of space and time. The physicality of space and time, and in the space and time, whatever happens is accessible by the mind. But Atman cannot be taught by the mind. Yanasu itovacho nivartande aprapya manasasaha. Aprapya. It cannot be even accessed by the mind. That is the reason also why we cannot even imagine that what bodiless existence means. This Atma doesn't have a body, or this consciousness, awareness is not conditioned by the body. So, a impersonal existence or an impersonal being without a body is beyond the mind or beyond our ordinary brain and intellect to get into the that's what aspect is what is that Atma is about. That is why it is it is declared always through the words which are what it is not. Arupam, adrishyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadesham. All these negative things are because what we know will all form in the grahyam, which is can be conceived. Alakshanam, which is without a lakshana means we can only know with the attributes. All these type of things are what the mind can conceive. But what is beyond the attributes, without the what cannot be conceived. That it goes against the law or the logic. Inconceivable inconceivability itself is not conceivable by the mind, because mind cannot go into that region, because mind can only conceive. So this is where we are now in a state where the mind cannot help us. At the same time, Prajapati has been telling from the beginning, the one which you see in the eyes, Akshi Purushaha, then in the Swapna Purushaha, then the Nidra, in the deep sleep, this thing. All these explanations, the listener or Indra will normally associate with the physical body. knowing very well that this tendency for the student to associate himself with the physical body, Prajapati wants the shackle of mind conceiving that I am an embodied person in this body, physical body. That has to be broken up or that has to be shattered. A state of bodilessness is something which was the closest when he mentioned about the deep sleep. But there, Indra got the confusion that Vinashameva Pashyat. I am seeing the total annihilation of including myself because I was not there. I could not see whether I was existing or not. So Prajapati has to make sure that Indra is understanding all those things. So he brings in the bodilessness of the Akasha and explains, just as that Priya Priya Vasantam Nasprashataha. This happiness and sorrow which you are always associated with the association with the physical body doesn't touch the Atma which is in the Asharira Atma which is in the Sharira. The presence, the awareness in the body, that awareness is very bodiless. When it is functioning in the body, we assuming that superimposition of this body is I am this body, and then my body is becomes my, and then the world becomes relation to the body. So removing that limitation, it was mandatory for knowing what is that ya atma apaghatapatma, the first statement which Prajapati was very category selling. Ye atma apaghatapatma vijaraha amrut vimrutyu vishokaha vijigatso apipasa satyakama satyasankalpa sa anyashtavya. This is what is to be searched for. Savijijnasitavya. This is to be known, not ordinary knowing, vijijnasa, but the special knowing of it. That the knowing and the being becoming one in such a state. Sa sarvancha lokan papnoti. Once you associate that yourself with that, all lokas is pervaded by that. Sarvancha lokan kaman atman anuvidya vijanitihi. That is what Prajapati said. All that you enjoy everything by knowing that you are everything. Not that you are enjoying through the body of everything. No. Then again you are trapped in the bodies of that enjoyment, everything. You are knowing that this happiness and sorrow doesn't touch you. At the same time, all the desires which you feel through the different body, you know that those are all not the one which are really to be enjoyed. You have got something state which is where you are become the omnipresence. That omnipresence completes the complete requirement of the desires, if at all anything can be called as a desire. So evam in the third mantra which we stopped last time was evam eva esha samprasadaha asmat sharirat samuttaya param jyotihi upasampadya swena rupena abhinishpadyate sa uttama purushaha sa tatra paryeti jakshan kridan ramavana stribhi va yanai va ज्ञातिभिः वा न उपजनं स्मरन् इदं शरीरं स अधा प्रयोग्य आचरेण युक्तः एवम् एव अयम् अस्मिन् शरीरे प्राणो युक्तः. Now, as the pure consciousness, as it was originally, like how the example of the Akasha was given. Now, Samprasadaha, Asmat Sharira Duttaya. One has to rise above these three physical states of physical, subtle, and causal conditions. That is Sharira Duttaya. Atman is apparently attached to the body. Apparently, understand the word, it is not really touched by any of them. Because of which we feel that, that association of the body. So it is the selfhood which is being the true nature of the being which is untouched by the bodies. To understand that, we should know the awareness from this, the capacity of the awareness. The capacity of the awareness is self-luminosity, so prakashita, or you can say param jyoti, the universal luminosity. So prakashita means it will still be associated with the physical body. No, it is the param jyoti. In the light of everything, everything exists. Yasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. That one which is the one, that consciousness or awareness in which anything and everything exists. We cannot imagine anything outside awareness. Anything possible also outside awareness or consciousness. So that is the Sarvan Lokan Apnoti. That is why the omnipresence is being to be understood. By identifying our true nature as that awareness or the consciousness, we know that nothing can be outside it. Therefore, the pervasiveness or omnipresence of our nature is established. It is not, that's why Swaprakashata means we will think that it is the luminosity of the individual. It is not that. Why is it universal luminosity? Because it is the self of everything in the universe. That awareness is the substratum for everything. O Indra, such is your true being into which you seek initiation. Prajapati is now concluding, almost concluding. This is the true serenity and composure of the self. And don't identify with the physical body and the limited name and fame and pleasure and association you have with. You have to stand by your own right because you are not the body. You are not the one which is functioning through the body. So you have to assume your real status, which is the being or the awareness or the consciousness. And once you do, that is the freedom. That is called the Atma Swarajya. The freedom from everything, and it is the freedom of the self. Once you identify yourself free from the body, free from your limitations, because you are that universal consciousness, not entrapped into the body of the individual and the individuality with which we think that we are the limited individual. The status of freedom from all kind of external subjugations. Every law, which is the body, the mind, and the intellect and the physicality, is limiting the body. Those laws do not operate in that realm. It can be attained only when the so-called outsideness or externality ceases. We have the body and outside the body experiences, not the body. We go outside the body. No, we associate with the body. Everything outside the body, we call it as out the world. The world has no independent existence. So when the outsideness of the body or the externality of the nature of the self ceases to exist, then there is no outsideness. And that is the freedom what is being told about by Prajapati to Indra. If you consider yourself are within the body, limited with the laws which are applicable to the body, there is no freedom. So the absolute freedom or the amrutatvam or abhayatvam is applicable only in the universality of the consciousness. This is why he keeps on repeating in everything, etat vai amrutam abhayam, etat atma. That is how he says in every statement. From the Akshini Purusha onwards, the first statement onwards, he was keeping on telling. This is the truth, O Indra. This is the Atman. Now you should understand what this Atman is. I have not told you what Atman is. I have told you till now what is not. That Atman is a supreme person, or what you call Uttama Purusha. You call it as a person for want of another word, because there is no words with which it can be nomenclatured or defined, or put in a pigeonhole. It is not a person in actuality, but for the want of expression, we use the word the supreme person or the Uttama Purusha as an expression for us to helping understanding that, in case if you are immature mind, we think what is the nature of that Atma, that supreme body or supreme being in which everybody can exist. Vishwapurusha. All bodies are his bodies. No body is limiting him. Such a state is what is called the Uttama Purusha. That all bodies exist in his awareness. All bodies are like consciousness. And bodies cannot limit the consciousness. That is what is the Uttama Purusha, what we are talking about. And this is exactly what is to be understood. Once you know this as your nature, you are free. You are no more embodied self. You are released from the bodily existence here and now. What we call it as Jivan Mukti. This body itself is an appearance in the consciousness. It is not really that you are the body, because you know that the body. You have seen the body aging. You have seen the body going through the pleasure and pain, growth, decay, disease, everything, whatever you want to call it. So how can you call yourself the body? You are that Uttama Purusha, in which every body is there. Then why are you getting confused that you are the physical limited body of one individual, petty, limited to located in space and time to one spot? If you look from the cosmos point of view, even the physicality of the cosmos, we cannot be even narrated or identified even at the tip of a pin. That in minuscule or insignificant is our sharira, and we identify with the sharira, saying that we are the body. I am the king, I am the monarch, or I am so and so. I am all sorts of identification and call that I am rich, I am poor, or I am fat, or I am good, I am ugly. All those things are being used because you do not know your true nature. This Atma, you should, that is why Vijajnasitavya, one should know about that is the nature. Such a person who has understood that he is no more the body is called a Jivan Mukta. Now, these things, what is the Jivan Mukta state? Only a person who has transcended beyond the body limitation can explain from the point of view. We can only assume what we may be looking at it from what the Shastras are telling, unless we ourselves become the Jivan Mukta ones. To know that we have to drop the identification with the body. And that state of the Jivan Mukta is not conceivable by the mind, because mind is part of the body. So the non-bodily existence associating with that Uttama Purusha, where every body is in his body or in his awareness or in his being, is a state of the Jivan Mukta which is being not possible for the immature mind to understand. This freedom can come only by knowledge, not by concept. You have to know. To know is to be. There is a difference between knowing intellectually and knowing by being. We have to understand what the Upanishad wants us to say when it wants to vijijnasitavya. That suffix V to jijnasitavya. Jijnasa means to know, desire to know. The V Vishesha is added as a suffix to that word is to differentiate between intellectual appreciation or knowing whatever may be the subtlest of the physical beings in this world, like atoms and neutrons and protons or cosmos and physicality, biology, DNA, all of them are in the knowledge, intellectual knowledge. But here we are talking about a knowledge of becoming the knowledge itself. You can be only in one place you can become the knowledge. The knowledge where it is awareness itself, only in that place you can become the knowledge. In rest of the places, the knowledge is intellectual place in nature. We can appreciate intellectually, we can do faster than the computers or faster than the in the lightning speed, we can do all those things. It is still within the space and time. Here we are talking about that consciousness, supreme uttama purusha, which embodies that omnipresence, which embodies everything. So everything what we are knowing intellectually is within the realm of that omnipresence. But when you become identified with that, there is no you there is left. That is why he becomes Jivan Mukta. From the Jiva, limited individual state, he becomes freed himself. So he is a freed individual, means he no more identifies himself with the physicality of the space and time and the bodily conditions. He has become the consciousness himself. He has become one with awareness. Such a person, when you become one with the knowledge or one with the awareness, there is no way he can ever associate himself with the physicality of the body. We see the world, and Jivan Mukta also sees our world, but he sees it in different way from what you and I see, because the difference of perception. He has become the awareness in which bodies and things like that the world exists. For us, we associate with the physical body and see the world external to our body. For a Jivan Mukta, the externality is not there because he is omnipresence. This instrument for him to know is by becoming or by being the awareness. In the awareness, everything can exist. The existence in awareness do not limit his presence or his identity. He is Sarvamapnoti Sarvashaha. The seventh chapter we discussed that. He pervades everything because of his nature of awareness. He is the consciousness. And he himself becomes the instrument. Because other than him, there is no instrument for him. So the object and the subject, he is one. That is why when it is said, Yatra na anyat pasyati na anyat shrunoti na anyat vijanati. There is nothing outside which he sees something outside him, something hears outside him, or knowing something outside him, because there is nothing outside. The outsideness as an externality doesn't exist once we identify with the consciousness or identify. That being is what is called the Uttama Purusha and the Jivan Mukta are not two different entities. But for us, when we see such an individual who has identified himself with the universality of the existence or consciousness, no more identifying with his physical body, we call him a Jivan Mukta. For him, there is no Jivan body itself, nor has he will realize that he has never been free, never been contaminated or contained in a body. Because the moment he knew that, just like when we wake up from our dream, we are no more conditioned by the body of the dreamer. The Jivan Mukta has identified with the awareness where the appearance of the waking dream and deep sleep was happening as a phenomena. So he knows no more. He knows that I never had a body which I went through that. That like we say, we never had a body in the dream to suffer through, and we did not suffer in the dream. Actually, that is the same way. This is what is called a parajagrat. It means it is a exemplary waking or a extreme waking, where there is this waking has no relevance at all. So that is the state of the Jivan Mukta, which is being measured in the third mantra. And now we are going to the fourth mantra, which says, Atha etat, atha yatrai etat akasham anuvishannam chakshu sa chakshusha purusha darshanaya chakshu atayo veda idam jighrani iti sa atma गन्धाय घ्राणम् अतयो वेद इदम् अभिव्यहरन्ति व्यहरणि इति स आत्मा अभिव्यवहाराय वाग् अथवयो वेद इदम् शृण्वानि इति स आत्मा श्रवणाय श्रोतम्. Now he is bringing our attention back to us, our association with the body, so that we do not get into the delusion again to identifying the body. The I which we see, etat akshan, chakshusha purusha darshanaya chakshu. The person in the eye, when it is mentioned that the eye is the purpose for seeing as an instrument, but the one who sees is not the one with the eye. He is no more identified with the physicality or the instrumentality of the eye. He is the consciousness or the awareness who is behind the statement I am, I see, I smell, I speak, I touch, all these organs and everything which is listed here. And this awareness is present in even in our body. This consciousness, not intellectually knowing what we are seeing, that is the limitation of the individuality and the process of seeing. When we see an object, there is an awareness in us. It is the awareness in which the seeing taking place, but we do not look that way. We always say that I am seeing and I am aware of the object. So the I, which is being referred there, is not known to us. Who is the I you are referring to? Who is the I we call that smelling? Who is the I who is speaking? Who is the I who is hearing? There is the I in Atma. The word I in Atma is saying my meaning. But we always consider that the knowing and seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, tasting, all of them are done by the instruments of the body, and it is the instruments which is knowing. The instruments by itself has no potency to know. They are all mere instruments. If that is the case, even a dead body should be able to see, smell, taste, touch, and tasting. It is not happening. The presence of Atma through prana as a living being is the reason why the instruments become potent enough to know things. It is the awareness which is there in the entire field of object and subject and the connection. There is no, actually speaking, there is no separation from the point of view of awareness. But when the instrument is looking at it, the instrument only records what is being seen through the limitations of the instrument. Therefore, the intellect feels that limitation and segregates itself as a subject. And what it observes through the instrument, he alienates from himself as an object. But this is because the intellect has not known what is making it. Yet chakshushana pasyati yena chakshumsi pasyati. That which is not seen by the eye, by because of which eye is able to see. Yet manasana manute yena hur manomatam. It is not the way, not what the mind is comprehending or understanding or intellectually measuring and thinking that it is knowing. It is that by which the intellect or the mind has the potency to know. That is what is Atma, which is being referred here by Indra to to Indra by the Prajapati. Athayo Veda idam Manvaniti sa Atma Mano asya Devam Chakshu Sava Yesha Yetena Devena Chakshusha Manaha Yetan Kaman Pasyan Ramate Ya Ete Brahmaloke Tam Va Etam Va Deva Atmanam Upasate Tasma Tesham Sarve Cha Lokaha Atha Sarve Cha Kama Sarve Cha Lokan Apnoti Lokan Prapnoti Sarvam Cha Kaman Kamani Astamatman Anuvidya Vijanitihi Ha Prajapati Ruvaja Prajapati Ruvaja. When Upanishad repeats the last word twice, that is the indication where the instruction of the Upanishad is over. But here it is Prajapati Ruvaja as the master of the teaching to Indra. So it is a statement of Prajapati to Indra. But for us, the Upanishad is still there because Prajapati is not talking to us. So what does he say? He who is conscious that I may think in is the self. This is the divine I. And that divine I of the mind that sees the desires, these objects of whatever region one they want it. So we have to understand that what is the intricacy of these statements which is being made by Indra, to Prajapati to Indra. Unless we know the relation to in our, because we are not familiar with what is a Brahmaloka or what is those technical terms of the Vedic period of Upanishad. So we have to more connect it to our today age, our our way of understanding these knowledge which is to be understood, because it should matter to us. So from that point of view, what does it mean that? So here we have to see that what does the mantra say? Mantra says that atha means now, yatra akasham anuvishannam, where this bodiless state, akasham is indicating that beyond the limitations of the body. Anuvishannam chakshuhu, with the vision of from the level of that bodilessness, there is a vision for that supreme Purusha. That universal consciousness is also perceiving everything which is happening in its own bosom, because he is everything. He is everywhere. Why I'm using the word he for the purpose of explanation, not that he is a man or a woman. It doesn't that there is no sex or sex. This the details with which we can say that when it is perceiving anuvishannam chakshu tatrasa chakshusha purusha, in the role of when he does the perception, whether it is at the universal level, macro level, or at the micro level at the individual body, he is called the chakshusha purusha. The Akshini Purusha, which Indra and Virochana was told in the beginning by Prajapati. It is the same one which I was referring to you, but both you and Virochana saw the reflection in the water or the mirror or anything. It is not, you didn't see the intended meaning of my statement. What is that awareness which is with the eyes seeing? The seeing, it doesn't happen with the eyes. The seeing is because of the consciousness or the awareness behind it. That is the Chakshusha Purusha. Darshanaya is the cause for the vision. Atha idam jigrani iti. Even now, so tasting, touching, smelling, everything. Granam, grandaya. All those things are because of that consciousness which is being, because everything is happening in that awareness or consciousness. Brahmaloke ye etaye etan kaman pasyan ramate vai. One who is capable of identifying himself as the universal consciousness or the Uttama Purusha, he who has delimited by the limitations of the body, he becomes a enjoyer of the entirety of omnipresence. That omnipresence is referred as the Brahma Loka. Brahma eva loka, Brahma Loka. That universal encompassing nature. See the words have got its own limit, and when I use encompassing, there is should be something bigger than that which can encompass something smaller than that. Let us not look at it. Imagine the consciousness which is encompassing everything. Everything is inside that, like the space which is encompassing everything. This is something beyond that. Everything which is existing, ideas, objects, body, anything you name it, all the names and forms, everything has locus in that. It is in that where this one who has identified himself with the universal consciousness or the universality of awareness, etan kaman pasyan ramadevai, we can say that he is having the enjoyment of everything. There is no body to enjoy. We do not know what is an enjoyment without a body. But when an example is given that when something is outside, you desire for it. When you have an access to that, your enjoyment goes up. But when it becomes yours, you have a sense of fulfillment or achievement. That completeness from the externality is no more there when it becomes ours. That is a small example to imagine when the universality and the entirety of the whole, there is nothing outside it, is the happiness you can call as the ultimate happiness. That is what is called Paramananda, because there is nothing more than that. Because your happiness can be diminished when you have something outside you and you want to get that. Dvitiyad vai bhayam bhavati or dvitiyad vai. So when you have the second one, you need to possess it or you need to have it. And when it is becoming yours, there is a sense of completeness, apparent completeness, with which we all feel that, now I am happy. Let it be a food, let it be something else, seeing a flower or seeing a cloth or seeing a vehicle, or anything which you think outside you, when it becomes yours, there is a sense of completeness. Now, what will be the sense of completeness of the consciousness of the awareness where there is nothing outside it? That is what is called the Brahmaloka. So, tam va yetam va deva atman upasate. That is what the thing. Tam yetam atmanam. One who knows the Atma, Deva, Atma in this form. Tam etam atmanam. In the Atma in this nature, upasadevai, one who has understood and have become one with that. Tasmat tesham sarvacha lokaha sarvacha kama. Because of that very omnipresence, all the world and all the objects, sarvan kaman, atta means achieved. Ya tam atmanam anividya. One who follows this by the Shastra, as instructed by the Upanishad. Vijanati, one who knows, not only just knowing by intellectually, by becoming that. Sa sarvancha lokan sarvacha kaman apnoti iti ha prajapati uvacha. This is what the Prajapati's instruction was there. You, O Indra, you may be the king of the gods with all the luxuries in the Devaloka or the celestial world. In the heaven, you may be a king, but you are limited by the body. As long as you identify with the body, your limitation in the happiness will limit to the body what you are thinking. But imagine when you know the reality that you are not the body, you are that universal consciousness or that one in which everything else is depending. There is no more individuality at that time. So such a person is beholder of the whole world. There is no world outside him. And when there is no world outside him, there is no desire outside. So he is complete in itself. He is a Purna Purusha, Uttama Purusha. That is what Prajapati is telling to Indra. So that completes the 12th section. In the 13th section, Shyamas Chabalam Prabhadya, Shyamas Shabalas Shyamam Prabhadye, Asya Iva Romani, Vidhuya, Papam Chandra Iva, Rahur Muhat, Pramuchya, Dutva Sharira, Amrutam, Krita, Brahmalokam, Abhisambhavami, Yasmi, Abhisambhavami. Then this is the statement of the person who is now entering into that universal consciousness. Aham Shyamat Shabalam. That Shabalam means Brahma here. The adjective for Shyama, Shabalam is Shyama. That Brahma Loka or that Brahma, that universal consciousness. Shyamat means, yes, we actually the word Shyamat is multicolored or multi-attributed. But when you become the universal awareness or the universal omnipresent Purusha, Uttama Purusha, all the attributes becomes yours. There is no attribute outside that. So when you say Aham Shama Shavalam Prabhadye, let me enter into that world of all attributes. No attributes outside me, or let me become all. Aham Shavalat Shamyam Prabhadyate. The reversal is also true. When I become the omnipresent and become everything in the world or the universal consciousness, when I encompass everything, there is nothing which I need to abandon. There is no body which I now need to discard because every body is inside me. So an example is given like the horse, shaking its own physical body, the skin, to dust off all the dust from the skin, or the eclipse time, the moon get freed from the shadow. Like that, I am getting freed myself, or the freed of the attachments which is on the body, or the feeling that I am limited. So the two examples are for two different things. The horse and the dust is to shake off all the wrong notions I had that I am a wealthy person, I am an old person, I am a young person, I'm beautiful, ugly, this, that, all sorts of dust was there on my association. I am shaking them all off as if the horse is shaking off the dust on its body. I am also getting myself freed from the clutch of the shadow, which I was thinking that I am the body, limited individual, located to space and time. So I am like the moon getting released from the shadow during the eclipse. Akrita, kritatma akritam brahmalogam abhisambhavami. Kritatma, I have achieved what I was looking for. I was limited by my body and attributes and everything. Now I have nothing more to be done. Sarvamapnoti sarvashah. There is nothing more to be achieved for me. I am a satisfied person from all aspects. By knowing, not only knowing, by being the knowledge itself, I have now nothing more to be acquired. I have become the knowledge of everything. Everything remains in my knowledge or in my awareness, or there is no my there. Akritam means eternal. Nothing. Kritam means what is in within the time and space, a cause and effect. There is nothing which is in the realm of cause and effect in that state of universal existence. Brahmalogam abhisambhavami. I am entering into that universality of being, the the Uttama Purusha state, or the supreme human or supreme person, in which everything is present. There is nothing outside it, nothing, no more desires to be fulfilled. Therefore, I am become satisfied. There is nothing outside me which I do not enjoy. Everything is inside me, or there is nothing beyond me. Everything is me and my expressions. So there is nothing which cannot be external. Therefore, Brahmalokam, that is that extreme perceiveness or the omnipresence which is there. Abhisambhavami, that is what I am becoming. Let me become that. Then in the 14th one, Akasho vai nama, nama rupo yor niva rehita, te yadandaratma tad brahma, tamratam tad amritam sa atma, Prajapate sabham Veshma Prabhadya Yashoham Bhavami Brahmananam Yasho Rajanam Yasho Visham Yasho Hanumanuprapsi Sahaham Yashah Sam Yashaha Shetas Madat Magad Madam Shedam Lindumam Linduma Vigyam. Here he is making the the last word in his statement, a person who is dropping even the last identity. Akasha vai nama. This Atma which I am has been mentioned in the in the scriptures as Akasha. Nama rupayo nirvahita. But one who is beholder of the name and forms. Because the name and forms are in me. They do not have separate existence. Te yed andara tad Brahma. These names and form is in me, in the middle of me. So I can say in either way, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. In the middle of every name and form, it is my name, my presence. Or every name and form is in me. In either way, Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. Both ways I am. Te Andarayat. That is that which is there in the middle of these names and forms. Tad Brahma, Tad Amritam, Sa Atma. That is what is Brahma, that is what immortal, and that is what Atma. Aham Prajapade Sabam Veshmaha. I am entering into the courtyard or in the royal abode of Brahma, Prajapati. Then he says that Aham Brahmananam Yasha. I am the what is the glory of the learned Brahmana. Rajnyam Yashaha of the monarchs who have been ruling. Their glory is also mine. Remember the same thing which we studied when Prajapati and Agni Vayu went to see in the And it was only a splendor which was being seen, saying that splendor is Yasha. It is there in the Brahmana, it is there in the Ratnya, it is there in the Vaishya. Aham Yashaha, I am that glory. Anuprapsari, I am the one who is desire, who had the desire to all do these things. Now they all have become mine, or I am that glory of everything. Yashasam Yashaha, I am the glory of the all glories. You cannot think that any glory is superior to the glory of being a Uttama Purusha or Atma, so universal being. Then he is making a final prayer because the strength of the ignorance or Maya is so powerful. The final prayer he is doing, where he says that Aham Shetam Adaktam Adaktam Shetam Linduma Abhiham. Let me be not be drawn through the red, teethless mouth from where a slimy worm type of birth takes place again. See how the Upanishad is describing that the cycle of birth and death should not happen to me because of the ignorance gripping me again. Let me not be in the grip of that delusion because of which I go through the birth and again. Having understood the reality, I will not be under anymore under the when the in the ignorance of it because Edgatva na nivartande tadama paramam mama. So that what we have told that once the knowledge, once you become the awareness, there is no way you can unbecome. But intellectually, if you grasp it, you can forget. You can be again back into the ignorance. But by becoming the knowledge or the universal awareness, there is no na punaravritir bhavarjuno. There is no way you become again a body limited by the body individual. This is the 14th mantra, and then the last 15th is finishing that. तत् एतद् ब्रह्म प्रजापतेः उवाच आचार्यात् कुलात् यथा विधानं गुरो कर्मणि शोषेण वेदम् अधीत्य अभिसमावृत्य कुटुम्बोऽस्तित्वा शौचदेशे स्वाध्यायनम् अधीताय धार्मिकान् विदधत् सर्वेन्द्रियाणि आत्मनि सम्प्रतिष्ठाप्य तीर्थेभ्य अन्यत्र सर्वभूतानि अहिंसन् यावदायुषम् एवं वर्तयन् स ब्रह्मलोकम् अधिसम्पद्यते न च पुनरावर्तते. So, in this way, he is saying that this teaching, what has been now done by Prajapati to Indra, is what is being referred in that, and he is saying that ones who have understood this, there is no punaravartanam, there is no birth taking place. Tat yedat Brahma, this Atma Jnana, or this knowledge of the universal being or the universal consciousness, which Brahma has taught to Prajapati, the 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 universal consciousness itself divulged it to Prajapati. And Prajapati Uvacha Acharya Kulat, from the tradition of teachers to taught, like Prajapati to Kashyapa, etc. There is a list of Guru Parampara which is being mentioned. Guroho Karmadi Sheshena. By doing whatever is required as instructed by the Guru. Remember, 32 plus 32 plus 32 plus 5. 101 years he had done the Brahmacharya Avastha to know this knowledge. So, Guru Karmadi Sheshena, whatever has been instructed by Vidivat, Yadavidanam, as instructed by the Guru. Vedam Aditya, after having understood what has been taught by Prajapati, Abhisamavritya, by doing what is the Samavartanam, Kudumbe Stitha, even if he's a person who is with the family, Shuchau Deshe, in a clean place, Swadhyayam Adidaya, by studying this oneself or by doing the mananam of this. Swadhyayam Adhyanam, Swadhyayam Adhiyana means by the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Dharmigan Vidatat, by the dharma way of living. Sarve Indriyani Atmani Samsprashya, by withdrawing all the outgoing tendencies of the instruments of knowledge and instruments of action, focusing it on the Atma or knowing the Atma. Tirtebhya anyatra sarvani bhutani ahimsan, by not impedimenting anybody else's life or not in getting into the the methodology of interference in others' life, himsa, which is called the himsa here. Yavad ayusham evam vartayan, as long as asushupter amrute kalam, Dvaita chintanam kuryat, as long as you have the breathing or as long as you are going to deep sleep, either day or in your life, evam vartayan sa brahmalokam adisampadhyate, one who remains in this knowledge of what he has become as instructed by the Acharya Parampara. Nacha punaravartate. For such a person, there is no delusion engulfing him. He can never be under the clutches of ignorance again, is what the Upanishad is telling in the final statement. As a guarantee that there is, once you know, identify and adhere to this teaching, there is no way that ignorance can grip you. You are one with the universal consciousness. There is nothing which is limited by you. But if you have not understood, is the what the last statement said. You have to do dharmic life. You have to be, non ahimsa, brahmacharyam, all those things which are mentioned, vidivat. You have to do suchinam dehan. In that place, you have to do shravana manana nididhyasana until this becomes your being. Intellectually, initially, because of which Shravana Manana will take place. And once your Shravana Manana is over, then when it becomes Nididhyasanam, you have entered into the realm of the universal consciousness. Such a person, na punaravartade. He doesn't come back again into the body again anymore. Nor he gets into the clutches of the ignorance again. Om Apyayantu Mamangani वाक्प्राणचक्षुश्रोत्रमथोबलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते य उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम् श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् थैंक यू धन्यवाद